Welcome back to the Weekly Friedman, your source for the most essential information in the default industry. The Community Wealth Preservation Program remains a hot button topic in the New Jersey default world. Months ago, the Ocean County Sheriff postponed foreclosure sales, citing a lack of clarity with the bill. More recently, two other sheriffs followed suit. I'm Adam Friedman, managing partner at Friedman Vartolo, and I'm joined today by Friedman Vartolo Senior Associate Jim Milano. Jim assists in overseeing our New Jersey foreclosure practice and has been heavily involved in tracking the sheriff movement in this area. How's it going, Jim?
Good morning, Adam. I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Do you want to give us a brief recap as to what parts of the bill the sheriffs are citing as the most problematic or confusing?
Sure. There's actually only one real part. It's the element of the bill concerning the nonprofit community development corporations, which I'm just going to call nonprofits after this. They come up in the bill in two separate sections. The first is that they can be requested by either a foreclosed defendant or a tenant currently in the property to purchase the property on their behalf at the sheriff's sale. The first issue with that, obviously, is the bill also requires that the nonprofit negotiate an affordable lease with a purchase option with either the foreclosed defendant or the tenant still in the property. I think the bigger issue is actually the nonprofit involvement in the second right of refusal, which basically means if the foreclosed defendant or the tenant doesn't request that a nonprofit purchase the property on their behalf, any nonprofit can just come in and try to bid at the sale. And the issue there is complicated because, first of all, the definition of the nonprofit in this case is murky at best. It's really just a nonprofit that is involved in rehabbing and selling property. The requirement is that it be sold or rented as affordable housing, but still, I think there's ambiguity there that can easily be taken advantage of, for lack of a better term.
What's interesting is I think you did a very good job of explaining that issue, but it's still so complicated, right? It's just, even when you try to outline the issue, there's some confusion with nonprofits. There's a couple different ways. There's an interplay with them involved in the auction process, but even explaining it is hard. Like I could see why the sheriffs are having problems.
It is hard. I mean, honestly, to boil it down, you and I could start a nonprofit tomorrow. We could call it a community development nonprofit, and we could start buying properties at sale or trying to enter into maybe backdoor agreements with the tenants or the foreclosed defendants or something of like. It goes off the rails quickly if you think about it.
And the sheriff's issue here is this entire, like the enforcement of this is all on them, right? Like they have to determine if it is a viable nonprofit. They have to, right? It's all on them, and that's really their issue.
Yeah. Yes, and that's a tough spot to be in for the sheriff because if they make a mistake, it could have long-lasting, like multiple years worth of impact on each property.
So what sheriffs have postponed sales right now?
Well, so far, only three: Ocean, Camden, and Atlantic counties. And Ocean actually is resuming sales today, September 3rd, but with the caveat that they're no longer recognizing nonprofits as part of the bidding process at all. So that's a Band-Aid. That's not a permanent solution. They're just not letting them in the door at this point.
Okay. And then what did Camden, and just for our audience, today is 9/3. This should be posted on 9/4, but they're resuming by the time you're seeing it, probably the day prior. And what are Camden and Atlantic doing?
They're taking a different stance. Their sales are postponed indefinitely. All the information I could get from them was that they're reviewing the situation on a weekly basis, but they don't have a timeline for resolution, and they actually haven't divulged any real info regarding what the overall problem is, except to acknowledge that it's the nonprofit element. I tried to get more details from them, and they said they can't disclose anything. They're just going to keep reviewing this on a weekly basis, and eventually, hopefully, the sales will resume, but I couldn't get a good answer from them.
Look, Jim, not to throw a hard question at you, because I know this is a hard question. But what everyone's wondering is how long is this going to last? Like, are we getting close to a resolution? Do we have any idea?
Well, the good news is it's only 2 counties at this point that are postponing sales, and the bill's been out for over 8 months now. So My assumption is that either Camden and Atlantic will get a resolution overall on the nonprofit issue, or they're going to follow Ocean's, lead and just stop acknowledging nonprofits as part of the bidding process. That's not a permanent solution. I think the goal there would be to get the legislature's attention and say, hey, you guys really need to update or correct the bill because we have very serious concerns about the nonprofit involvement in this. And while the intentions may have been honorable or on the level, there's a chance that this isn't going the way that it was supposed to.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. You ready?
Sure.
In the calendar year of 2025, how many sheriffs will postpone sales for at least one day because of this bill? And this is a total guess, right? But just what do you think? How many will postpone sales for at least one day?
I'm not going to give you a straight answer, only because my fear is once Ocean and Camden and Atlantic open the door to postponing sales, other sheriffs may hop on and say, you know what, we're not comfortable either. If I had to guess, I would say there's 20 some counties in New Jersey. Half a dozen would be my guess. I think those who have problems with this would have already stepped up, especially since other sheriffs opened the door. Counties that haven't acknowledged this probably aren't going to. That would be my best guess.
I think that's a good guess. I was going to say 5, so I think we're on the same page. All right, so to recap, Ocean County postponed sales but resumed them as of the release of this video. Camden and Atlantic are both currently stalled, basically indefinitely. We're waiting for some more information. Thanks for joining Jim Milano and I on the Weekly Friedman, your source for the most essential information in the default industry. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Looking forward to seeing you next time.